Hi, this is Dave Specter in Chicago. Welcome to another episode of Blues from the Inside Out, the podcast that we're now calling Blues from the Inside In. As you know, we're sheltering in place with the pandemic, and I'm very happy to have as my guest this evening where Kirk is, Kirk Fletcher. Hey, Kirk.
Hey, Dave, how you doing? It's good to be here. You know, anything I can do with my Chicago peeps, I'm always happy, you know.
Yeah, the last time I saw you was just outside of Chicago at Evanston Space. You played a cool show with some of your Chicago buddies.
Oh, man, that was so much fun to be there and to play on a Monday night, and people came out to see me, people I had known ever since I was a little baby, actually. Friends from my father's church came out to that gig, so it was really special, you know, and then being close to Chicago is always a standout for me.
Yeah, I know you've got a lot of your musical roots in Chicago as well as personal roots.
Yeah.
Maybe you could share with our viewers and listeners, tell us about your father's church and some of your connections to Chicago.
Well, you know, my family's from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, you know, and we just, you know, I just grew up playing in my father's church, you know, and everything. And then along the way, you know, we had a lot of cool radio stations. There was this radio station called KLON, 88.1 in Long Beach, out of Long Beach, California. And that's where I first really heard, you know, like Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters, because we had a great DJ at that time called Bernie Pearl. Right. Bernie Pearl's brother ran the Ash Grove, you know, so he's a blues historian, you know. So it's really good to be, you know, 8, 9 years old and hearing all this music. And I think the music that most captivated me blues-wise, you know, was Chicago blues, as well as, you know, musicians coming from Mississippi, you know. Sure.
So. Yeah, KLON used to sponsor the Long Beach Blues Festival, I remember.
Exactly. Yeah.
And speaking of locations, you're in Switzerland now, where you live, right?
I live in Switzerland for the past 3 years. You know, it's going on with that blues song. Fell in love with the woman and moved to Switzerland. Like so many other people, you know. Luther Allison moved to Paris, you know, right? France, you know. And Champion Jack Dupree, I think, too, right? Didn't he move to...
I think he lived in France and...
Memphis Slim?
Memphis Slim, sure. A lot of jazz musicians, Dexter Gordon.
Yeah.
So how you finding it over there? You look happy, you sound happy.
Well, you know, I mean, I had, you know, the 3 months or so of like, oh man, you know, and then I just sort of like, you know, really the thing that got me going back, you know, on the right path is really records, you know, listening to it, just revisiting a lot of records, you know, and I had already started before all this started. And then posting videos talking about my life, you know, as a musician and guitar things and a lot of Chicago blues, obviously. You know? And that was the thing that really kind of started to get me through it. And it seems like people enjoyed what I was doing and what I was talking about. And it was maybe a little bit off the, you know, beaten path for some people. You know, I had never heard of these people like Earl Hooker or, you know, Johnny Young or people like that, you know, and then maybe, you know, it'll get in this social media world. Maybe their names will kind of Sammy Lawhorn and people like that, you know, we can all try to work together and bring these more obscure guys, you know, a little bit of recognition, which they so really deserve.
Yeah, that's important stuff. So let me get this right. You were feeling kind of a disconnect, leaving the States, moving to Switzerland, and kind of reconnected with music.
Well, it was more so during this pandemic, you know, the pandemic is the thing that really kind of, you know, made me kind of be down in the dumps a little bit, you know. We're all human here, you know. Like I was getting ready to, I knew I was releasing this new record of mine and everything, and then it all just kind of stopped like so many of my friends, you know. But that was the thing, you know, I realized what I really love about music, and I love playing records almost as much as playing music, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, man, sometimes I can go for weeks and weeks and weeks by just putting on a pot of coffee, listening to records. So
Yeah.
it's kind of my thing, you know, it's a group of us guys, you know, Rusty's in and guys like that, you know, we all like crate digger kind of guys, I guess.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Speaking of your new record, My Blues Pathway, you
Yeah,
got a
right
copy to show us. All right. Right on. Yeah, and that's coming
September.
out. It's coming out later this month.
Yeah, September 25th. Wow, it's September already.
Yeah,
Wow.
it is. Well, congrats. Where
Thank
can
you.
people check it out, buy it, and hear it?
Well, it's on Cleopatra Records out of LA, and it's going to be everywhere. You know, have some vinyl, Amazon, my website, Cleopatra website.
Okay.
You know, all the streaming and all that stuff. And maybe if you can even make it out to a record store, it'll be there too.
Cool. Tell me about Cleopatra Records. I'm not hip.
Yeah, this is a record label that kind of has like a lot of different, you know, different offshoots of the label. And I think Joe Louis Walker's latest record is on there too. And
Okay.
they have this Cleopatra Blues, and I think Kenny Neal recorded for them, Eric Gales, and different people. And yeah, it's just, you know, I done my previous record, Hold On. I done that myself, you know, so I just decided to get a little help on this one and still try and, you know,
Yeah.
just make it happen, you know, and it seemed to be a pretty easy fit, you know, because you know how it is, you know, just seemed like it was no real problems or anything like that. So it was just easy, you know.
Good. Yeah, the record business can be a rough road for a lot of people, so that's good to hear.
Yeah, you know, it just was pretty straightforward, you know, because I really need straightforward in my life because being a musician is complicated most of the
Yes,
time.
I hear you. And
That
you have
90-minute set, you know, that's when you get to do your thing, but everything else is challenging sometimes.
sure. And there are a couple new singles from the record that are already out. In fact, I
Yeah,
just watched the video for "There Ain't No Cure for the Doc." Is it? Correct me on
downhearted.
is it?
Ain't no cure for the downhearted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of rolls off the tongue. Ain't no cure for the downhearted. It sounds like a blues song to me.
Well, that's one of my most favorite things to do is to find these old blues songs and find like different little things out of them. You know, like Sonny Boy Williamson has a bunch of songs with different things. I even cover Fattening Frogs for Snakes on my new
Okay.
record. You know, it's
Yeah.
just even my writing, I try and incorporate some of this, you know, or some of like the language that my mom and dad would say, that country kind of southern lingo. You know, I love marrying that with modern things, you know.
Yeah, and I saw the video, and it was really powerful. And it seems to carry a message of social justice and kind of
Yeah,
some, maybe deals, well, not maybe, but deals with some of the turmoil, that's been happening in the States.
yeah.
Can you talk about that and maybe the message that the song conveys?
Yeah, well, you know, that song is really about, you know, I even say in there, you know, like without getting too political, you know, I say things like, you know, in a crowded room, I'm sometimes all alone. Could it be by my own choice or selfish greed, you know? And I mean, that's pretty, you know, tongue in cheek. I mean, and then I have things where I say like, you know, a great man once said he had a dream, talking about Martin Luther King. Do we still dream? Do we still think about things like we used to? I remember being a kid, you know, dreaming of one day playing with Albert King or something, or, you know, all of these dreams that you have when you're a kid. And nowadays, you know, kids are so consumed with everything. You know, I have a 23-year-old daughter, and I mean, it's like her hand is like a phone, you know, mounted in her hand, you know, and just all of these things. And also like you know, the guy or woman looking back over their life and the regrets and the things, you know, and looking at other people, you know, and saying, well, they have this and they have that. but I don't have it, and they just are so depressed. And it's
Yeah.
like no cure, it's just like they just want to be dark about it. You can either be glass half empty or half full, So
Sure.
that's the gist of it,
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. And the single that dropped earlier, No Place to Go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that you wrote that with Richard Cousins.
Oh, Richard Cousins, my neighbor here in Switzerland.
Oh, right. He lives there too. Man. Richard Cousins is, of course, a fabulous bass player, longtime member of the Robert Cray Band.
Yeah, and, working with Richard Cousins was just a joy because it's somebody I looked up to for practically most of my life.
Yeah.
Robert Cray and Richard Cousins and the way they played together and everything. So writing with him, we wrote 2 songs, a soul ballad kind of, and then this No Place to Go song. And it was literally, he knew already what kind of groove I wanted.
Yeah.
He helped me finish to hash out the lyrics and knew it's like crazy, to be able to just be that comfortable because, I'm a baby at writing songs. So to have somebody like Richard to really kind of go, oh man, just try and say this, not like telling me, oh, well, I'm Richard Cousins and you need to do it like this. Oh, just really conversational, like we're talking right now,
Yeah. I don't know Richard, but I've seen him a lot, especially back when I started seeing Robert Cray probably in the mid-'80s.
Oh, man, at the height.
Yeah. And his spirit was just to watch. He had just had this great energy. And is he like that in person?
Oh, absolutely. He's one of the most charismatic cats, around. And also the other thing, I know you'll appreciate this too, Dave, is like, all of these little guitar things we do, like ending songs, like our favorite guitar players, like say Albert Collins, the boom, da, da, and all that. He knows all of those little, guitar lingo things. And that's always,
that's cool.
fun.
Yeah.
But
it sounds like you're playing a Strat on that.
I played the Strat on the whole thing.
Oh, really?
I do that. I always try, with my own records, I try and approach them like one guitar on the whole thing.
Really?
Just to be anti, equipment and all that. Just kind of just stick to one thing, like all of our favorite guitar players,
It's true. It's true. Yeah,
like to look at it like a Anson Thunderbird record or Ronnie Earl or something, like those cats, just playing a Strat,
You sound great on a Strat, I gotta say, man.
Thank you so much.
I'm used to seeing you more as a Gibson guy, maybe a little more recently.
I played.
But that sounds great too. I think the last time I saw you live, you were playing a Les Paul. And
it's funny because I don't know about you, but like for me, like if a guitar sounds really good, you just kind of want to play it. I mean, I'm home base is a Strat, but I would say that if a guitar just does something or sounds a certain way, I'll just be like, oh man, for a little while, I got to just play this one or play an Ellie or a 335, So that's really it, just the sound,
Yeah. I got a story you'll appreciate from Space in Evanston. I'm one of the owners of the club, for those of you who don't know, and I get to see a pretty amazing variety of shows and musical styles. So we had Lucinda Williams booked.
Oh, cool.
When it was billed as an intimate evening, so we were expecting, I think a solo or duo show. And she showed up with a great guitar player from Nashville. And for the duo set, he had, I think, 17 or 18 guitars on stage for one set.
Wow.
And I'm a guitar geek. And I was and it was all mostly like really cool vintage stuff. And I was like, wow, what's that? Hey, what's that, man? What's that Fender? What's that Gibson? And it was
it Stuart Mathis or Stuart?
Doug Pettibone.
Oh, Doug Pettibone, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, monster player.
Yeah, Doug Pettibone, man.
The fact that he had the crew and the logistical means to do that was pretty cool. And he actually played them all, I think, maybe except for,
Did he play pedal steel too?
I think he might have. Yeah, there was a lot of gear on stage for a duo. But then the next night, Albert Lee shows up.
Oh man,
one guitar.
One guitar, right?
And that's all he
burned.
Yeah.
Yeah. Albert Lee. Wow.
Yeah, but I'm kind of the same way. I can get in a groove with like one Jazz Master or one Epiphone Riviera or one Strat, and I'll just stick with it.
Yeah.
But it's great to hear you on a Strat again, man. It's
cool. You know, I just really just wanted to get back to, you know, like Kirk, like, you know, when I first started playing blues in clubs, you know, which was like the late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I played a Strat, you know, before I fell under the spell of like Junior Watson and all those guys. Played a Strat. Yeah. You know, the influence of like Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimmie Vaughan, Ronnie Earl, Anson Thunderbird, Robert Cray, Duke Robillard a little bit too. You know, I played a Strat, you know. And yeah, I mean, it's home base. I played all my R&B and funk and gospel on that too. So
yeah. Talk about what kind of Strats you've been playing. What kind of Strat was on the record?
Well, on this is going to be really retarded, I know. But I have a 1964 Strat and I have a 57 Strat, right?
Wow.
Fantastic guitars. Sing on every note, sustained sound. The 57 sounds like Anson and all of the stuff we love, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I left those guitars in Switzerland because I was like, oh man, a Strat. You know, I got Strats in LA, you know, at my friend's place and everything. So I get there. We put this Strat together and get it all ready and everything, and it's not right. And I'm like, no. So I swapped pickups and got it refretted and done all this stuff to make it work, kind of.
Yeah.
With this body that I've had for years and just a parts caster, right? So I'm kicking myself. I'm like, man, I got all of the great Strats in Switzerland and I don't have any of them for the whole record, you know. But Kirk, I do that kind of stuff. Kirk does that kind of stuff. And then my super reverb blew up too. So I didn't have my super reverb that I've recorded with a million times. An old Strat. I'm like, no. So the record's a Blackface Deluxe and this parts caster. It worked.
Sounded great, man. Sounds great.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And which studio did you record it at?
A friend of mine, Alan Hertz, drummer, plays with a lot of guys, Scott Henderson and stuff. He's got a studio called Hertz Works. And Alan is a fantastic engineer, you know, so it was easy to talk to him and tell him what kind of sound I was looking for. Because on this record, I was really looking for like if you could marry, the whole thing about the record is I was trying to marry Chicago blues, you know, Junior Wells, Buddy Guy kind of stuff with modern stuff, you know, and record it in sort of a little more modern way, you know, kind of record it, kind of try and put Chicago blues right in there with like my original songs and kind of dress it up, shall we say?
Yeah.
Maybe dress up is the wrong word, but you know, like just try and do the Chicago thing and the kind of modern songwriting a little bit. I mean, Ain't No Cure for the Downhearted is really only my take on like a phone booth by Robert Cray. I mean, it's basically a minor blues. It's just got this head on it, you know. But that's really, you know, the concept behind this record. Just kind of make it a little bit more modern sounding. Because I really, you know, I get so heavily involved in like these, you know, 60s and 50s and even late 40s records. And so, you know, and you kind of want that sound of the 60s and stuff. And you know, I was like, man, but, you know, hey, you know, there were some cool records made in the 80s too, you know, by some of the people that I love, you know, and I wanted to really shine a light on that on this
Right.
record, you know. Be
Yeah, I
different.
mean, I think that's great because I think it's important for, you know, the blues, being able to hear the roots and the foundation of it. But I personally, I want to hear something that sounds contemporary, that sounds like, you know, urgent and doesn't, you know, I think there's a tendency on the blues scene with a lot of guys trying to make records that sound like they were done in 1956 or something. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's kind of already been done, guys, you know.
Really, really well too.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Like really well.
yeah, it's like, do you really just want to try to, you know, I get it. I get it. I'm guilty. I've tried to do it.
Oh yeah, me too, of course.
But I applaud you for trying to take that more, you know, here and now contemporary approach. And it still sounds like the blues, and it still sounds like soul. And
Well, thank you. I mean, I really tried to think about it like, hey, I'm gonna just try and get all the right elements, you know, together and play with all the feel. Like, you know, like this song I do by AC Recall, I'd rather fight than switch, you know, and I kind of do kind of like my Kirky buddy guy thing or whatever on that song, you know, and I really wanted to try and get some of that Hoodoo Man blues,
yeah,
you know, the Leslie sound that Buddy's using on
yeah.
that record, you know, whatever it is. I've heard mixed things about what he actually used, but maybe you know. But, you know, I want to kind of marry some of those things, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, as far as I know, it was a Leslie.
Yeah.
You know, but
Killer sound.
yeah,
too, man.
yeah,
Jeez.
yeah. Are you? Let's go a little deeper into gear, because I know the pedals have changed. You know, the way guitar players approach playing, and I know, you know, of course, all of our heroes plug straight in.
Yeah. All of them pretty much, you know.
It made my life a lot easier when I was playing.
Oh man. Yeah.
And I still do it once in a while, but what do you have any favorite pedals that you regularly use?
Well, you know, basically I use pedals only to make things sound like how it would sound if you could play really loud, kind of. You know, some of my songs are modern enough to you need a little something more than just, you know, like what I would say, like my blues sound. Like if I showed up to like a Kim Wilson gig or Linwood Slam or somebody like that, I could just show up with reverb and an amp turned up, right? So my music, I need a little bit more, but by modern standards, that's still really, really clean, you know. And I have to say, I can't really play with a lot of gain. I'm really out of my comfort zone. Like if I have a backline amp or something and it's like too distorted or too overdriven, I'm really at a loss, you know, because I just can't manage it too well.
Yeah.
But I use pedals like I have this collaboration pedal between Ibanez and this company from Japan called, well, they're both from Japan, but Vimuram. And it's like a tube screamer, but it's really clear and it doesn't have this mid-range thing. And I just use that to get the string for it to sing. You know, it's not really distortion or overdrive. It just gets it to kind of hook. And that's about it. You know, and then reverb. I'm a real love reverb.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you know, because you listen at those records of our favorite guitar players like B.B. King or, you know, and it's like some of them are swimming in reverb, and I love that. Albert Collins, you know, I mean, that's
same here,
amazing.
Man. I'm a charter member of that club.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I even like to record with a lot of reverb because on this record I didn't do it much because of the Strat, but I like to record with even more reverb because a lot of people say it gets lost, but if you're only playing like a small band, I mean, what does it matter? You just want it, you know, you want to feel good, you know, so bring on the reverb. And then other pedals, you know, like I have like a wah-wah pedal, old Vox wah-wah pedal, and I got a bunch of pedals and delays and stuff, but really, I'm really happy just plugging straight in or just maybe a little boost. If I don't have to, I won't even use any pedals. If it's got
Sure.
reverb and the amp can cook enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How has it been adjusting to living in Europe? And I also know you mentioned that there are gigs happening there. Tell us about your adjustments to living in Europe, and then I'd love to hear about just how the contrast is between life under COVID in Europe and life here.
Yeah. Well, moving here, actually, I played with this Italian pop artist maybe 4 or 5 years ago named Eros Ramazzotti. So I lived in Italy for about a year off and on, So that kind of really warmed me up to figure it out a little bit, And then we toured so much, even starting back with, like the T-Birds and the Mannish Boys, and man, we were going to Europe a lot. So I just started to kind of, I wasn't coming in cold is what I'm getting at,
Sure.
So it was pretty easy to make the transition. And then my girlfriend, made it easy, and she's obviously really helpful, making me make the transition. But yeah, I mean, I have a daughter in LA, so it does at times, it's like you'll get this craving for like a taco or a burrito, I live over 40 years in LA. So,
Yeah,
I think it's the food and then just the, like the language sometimes.
sure.
But other than that, the way of life and the quality of life is really, really good. And that, in regards to like what's going on now, I would just say they just have it. People follow the rules better.
Yes.
So people just, if they say that if you need to do something, if you need to wear a mask, if you need to do this, if you need to stay locked down, then the people just do it. And then things go faster, it just kind of snaps back a little faster, I think. And then, how the states are, it's kind of like, each place is kind of different. It's kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
But it's still crazy here too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, this is, it's crazy. It's some countries that are going back into lockdown. It's some, it's kind of all over the place here too, but a little more civilized.
Right. But are there some festivals or some larger type gigs happening around you in Europe?
Well, I don't know of any larger gigs. I think the maximum is like maybe 250, 300, something like that,
Okay.
And those are mostly in Italy, and they're trying to, Italy is a country that, like the arts and food and enjoyment, that's a big part of their culture. So it's a different dynamic than the States. The States was like, we were the first ones to be out of work and probably the last ones to go back in the States, so other countries, they just view the arts and things in a different way.
Yes.
I guess.
And since you've lived there, have you found stronger opportunities and stronger respect being an American artist living as an expat?
That's a wonderful question, but I do have to smile, Dave, because when I played Space, I was like, oh my God, this is a Monday and like all of these beautiful people out there. So, I just feel blessed, to be able to go and play, at Space, your club and have that kind of, reception there. So, respect. I feel that I hate to say it like this, but I do feel appreciated most places. I feel like people, appreciate what I do, and I'm very humbled and happy and appreciative that they do. But, it's like, I love European audience, but, I love my home too.
Sure.
That's what made me, that's where I learned playing in my father's church, and like, the people, there's so many beautiful blues lovers and music lovers in the States too, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't get the short end of the stick, but I do understand that it's a special thing here. Like if you play in a club, it's an event. It's not going to be like 27 TVs on with the football game on, you know. And that I can dig. But I can also dig the cat that's coming out, drinking a beer, you know. I love that too, you know. It is something about that thing about, you know, them knowing exactly what you're talking about, too, you know.
I hear you.
I love it all. I just love anybody that loves music, you know.
Cool. Let's go back to your early days. First of all, you mentioned your father's church a couple times. Where was that?
That was in Compton, California, Macedonia Church of God in Christ.
All right. And you started out playing there, right?
Oh, yes. I started playing there when I was about maybe 8, 9 years old, and my older brother played guitar. So I went to play guitar too, you know.
Yeah.
And it's so weird because my older brother was into like a little mixture of everything, right? You know, like he liked funk and all this stuff. And I liked all that stuff. I still love all that stuff. What am I talking about? But it's so strange. You know, I talk to my girlfriend and different people about this a lot. But, you know, I always liked blues.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I always, even though I played R&B and all of this stuff, it's just something about like gospel, quartet music. When I heard like Howlin' Wolf and people like that, I could really at an early age hear that kind of connection. It just moved me at an early age, you know?
Yeah, same here.
So, yeah.
It just spoke to me, and it was the most powerful music. I mean, my dad listened to Mahalia Jackson. And
oh, see, there you go.
You know, but still, when I heard Muddy Waters' voice, I was like, oh my God. It's like, what is that? I mean, it was the most powerful thing I'd ever heard.
And it's crazy because there was like gangster rap, the West Coast rap scene, and there was all that stuff, Prince, and I love Prince and all these different artists. But, you know, I was thinking about this before, you know, this interview, and I was like, music to me is like food, right? You know, and I was spoon-fed Southern food, you know, like fried chicken, mashed potatoes and gravy, greens, candy yams, all this stuff, right? And then, but I like other kinds of food too, you know, like Thai food and Mexican food and all that kind of stuff. And see, that's the difference. It's like blues is like that spoon-fed ever since I was a baby kind of food. And I like all these other kinds of food too, but it's not quite the same as what you were fed when you were a child, you know? So that's really kind of how blues is. I don't even think about it. You know, I don't even think like, oh, I'm listening to Joni Mitchell, or I'm listening to country music, or I'm listening to pop or slick West Coast 70s music or whatever. That's great. I love it. And I like slick music and all that. But when it comes, but blues is something, it's almost like not even music. It's just a way of life kind of, you know, like storytelling and the soul and everything. And why I'm talking about this, I don't know. No.
Hey, man, I love that analogy.
It's like food.
So talk about some of your first early blues gigs around LA.
Oh, wow.
You know, I want to talk about your days with the Mannish Boys and your days with the T-Birds, and I know you backed up Linwood Slim quite a bit, but to talk about some of your first club gigs.
Well, my club gigs, I played first I played a lot of gospel music and a lot of, you know, like Holiday Inn type top 40 gigs and all that stuff for a few years, like quite a while.
Okay.
And then the first like legit kind of blues gigs was with this female blues guitar player, a friend of mine, Chris Wiley. And this goes back to, you know, like the mid 90s or something like that, really. And playing in the club, learning the ropes on that kind of blues. She was kind of more of coming from the kind of Stevie Ray Vaughan kind of thing a little bit, you know. And then a little while later, I was still playing kind of top 40, playing some blues, which I really wanted to play. And then it just started to one thing led to another. I started playing with people from my dad's church, and we would do more top 40, but some blues, and it
Yeah.
just started to be more and more blues. And then I met Al Blake from
Yeah.
the Hollywood Fats Band, and it was over after that. I mean, it was like full steam ahead, like Chicago blues, country blues, West Coast blues. I met the man that really helped me, with all of that, like really knowing more about the history and knowing more about the records and all that. And then that led to other people like Kim Wilson and obviously Linwood Slim too. But the early gigs were like playing with whatever harmonica player I could find, because I really wanted to figure out this Chicago blues thing. More so than West Coast jump. I had to play a little bit of that, to play with the guys, but I really wanted to play like Little Walter stuff, backing up a harp, because I felt that this kind of encompassed so many different things, sort of like the swinging element, the Robert Lockwood Jr., and all of those different things in one, learning how to play rhythm and stuff. So that's really what I done. And I played with, James Harmon a little bit, Linwood Slim, Al Blake, Kim Wilson, Rod Piazza for a minute, and James Cotton a little later for just a few gigs, but I'm really proud of that because he's my favorite.
Yeah. A lot of harp players. Yeah, that's
I was into it. I love harmonica players.
Yeah, but it's interesting because the West Coast has been such an important place for great harp players and great guitar players. But
even the Bay Area too. Yeah, with like Gary Smith and all the guys, Mark Hummel, and
Sure. Yeah, that's cool. So, Kirk, you mentioned Al Blake earlier, and I just wanted our listeners and viewers to know Al Blake was, as you mentioned, the lead singer in the Hollywood Fats Band. For those of you who aren't familiar with Hollywood Fats, please check out that classic record that
yes, Rock This House.
So, that's kind of one of the definitive modern West Coast blues records. Al Blake also played harp with that band, and he's still around. He's still playing. And,
Pops is still around.
Yeah, cool. And the Mannish Boys, tell us who the Mannish Boys were and are. I don't know if they're still playing much, but I know your work with them is important in your career.
Yeah, the Mannish Boys was basically like Randy Chorkoff was the guy who really initiated that group. And it was basically supposed to be a blues review, sort of like a big blues review. And he done records and had a lot of guest artists on these records, and sort of a house band with myself and Frank Goldwasser and Kid Ramos, the great Kid Ramos, and this core band, Jimmy Bott was in there for a while. He was, there was Richard Ennis, Jimmy Bott, and different guys. And it was just Bobby Jones, Finest Tasby. We had Johnny Dyer in there a little bit, and I'm probably leaving out a million more, but it was a big, kind of blues review. So it was a lot of fun, and we made some fun records. I had a lot of fun just in the studio, getting to play a lot of blues guitar, and I had been playing in that scene for a while, so it was sort of, cool, and there's a little bit more season, a little more gigs under my belt, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, some of those records are so cool.
I love it.
And thanks for mentioning Kid Ramos as well. He's one of my favorites. And
his record Two Hands One Heart, I just found on Discogs, this app on my phone. It's like a record marketplace, and you can just buy records from all over the world from your phone, sort of. So I found the Two Hands One Heart, the original version of it on CD, and it's just like, man, hearing that record again after not hearing it for a while, man, tone impeccable. Linwood Slim sounds incredible on there. Janova Magnus. It's just a fantastic record. And Kid Ramos is one of the baddest.
Yeah. And let's talk about your work with the T-Birds.
Yeah.
How did you first get that gig?
Well, I played in Kim Wilson's solo band, starting in the early 2000s, and that was really like my, I really felt like that was really where I wanted to be, where I went to go, because Kim Wilson done like unadulterated, basically Chicago blues in the blues band, and that was always my thing. I wanted to find somebody who played all night Chicago blues.
Yeah.
I should have just moved to Chicago, but
yeah, I was going to ask you, you ever think about moving here?
It's cold though. Nick Moss and everybody. I'm like, man. But so that was really sort of the thing with that band. Then after that, I played with Charlie Musselwhite for a couple of years, and then Kim Wilson. I went on to join the Fabulous Thunderbirds after Charlie, because I really, really love playing with Charlie Musselwhite a lot. And I could have easily stayed there. But I just, the T-Birds was a band that, was sort of like a band, and I'm in my early 20s, and I want to be in a band, especially when I had listened to for, a lot of my life, So when the position opened up and Kim called me, I took the position,
Sure.
I didn't want to leave Charlie because it was amazing, and we're still friends to this day, but,
Sure.
It was just about the band thing,
And you were only in your early 20s when you joined the T-Birds?
I was probably maybe 25 or something, like 24. Wow. 24, 25, yeah.
That's impressive. You were pretty great when you were pretty young.
Oh, man, thanks. It was a lot of fun, though, because, my man, my dear friend, my little brother, Nick Kern, was in that band while I was in it, too. And, it was really something, especially when we first started, because we recorded a record, and just, I don't know, the whole experience was pretty amazing when you look back on it,
Yeah, which record?
Playing with one of our heroes.
Which record was that? Is that
Painted On? We done this record called Painted On. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to have to check that out. Yeah, I don't have that. So speaking of records, throw out a few of your Desert Island Blues discs. I think I might have some handy.
This record right here is one of my all-time favorite records of all time. Bobby Bland Dreamer record. Yeah. Now this is like, the West Coast kind of slick thing, arranged and everything like that. But you got Bobby Bland singing on it. I mean, it doesn't matter who's playing,
Right.
So this record, this combination, just a feel-good, Saturday night record. This is one of my favorites.
All right.
And this record, Chicken Shack. This has got Luther, Snake Boy, Georgia Boy, Johnson on a lot of it, and Mojo Buford's on there. Sammy Longhorn, Otis Spann, is on this record, and it's got Mini Dress and Please Remember Me on here, with Luther Johnson singing on it, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And then another record, kind of moving quickly here, is a new acquisition that I found out about from my good friend Cadillac Zach. He told me about this Little Milton record, and it's got Magic Slim and the Teardrops on it, without Magic Slim, but the Teardrops are the backing band on this record. So, it's a little bit more, Little Milton has to play a little bit more guitar on it. And I love it.
All right.
And, okay. Now, this record needs no introduction. This record, when I think of blues, this is one of the records I think of. When you say, what does blues mean to you? I think that this Robert Nighthawk record is, the tone and the singing on it is like it's just that really, that vocal phrasing on there when he sings stuff like, got that wings like a man, that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, this record. And then this record, Johnny Shines and Robert Lockwood Jr.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, this got like Pearly B on there and songs like that. The tone is insane.
Cool.
And then one more.
All right. Great picks, Kurt. Great picks.
Thanks. Oh well, I lied. Two more. I'll be really quick though. Johnny Young with James Cotton playing harmonica on it. This is some of the most intense, fierce playing anywhere. And then one of my all-time favorites, Play Your Guitar, Mr. Hooker.
Mm-hmm.
Earl Hooker is one of my favorite guitar players of all time. And when I think of blues, I think of Earl Hooker a lot, you know, and I really owe a lot of my knowledge about Earl Hooker. Billy Flynn was a person that really hit me to a lot of the more inside, like chordal stuff and little things. You know, Billy would just, you know, show me little things. You know, he's just an encyclopedia.
Yeah, he's got that stuff down. He's got that down. And just, those are great picks, Kurt. Just to step away from the blues, I remember when I saw you, you have a tune you wrote dedicated to Cornell Dupree.
Oh,
yeah. Why don't you tell our listeners and viewers, for those of you who aren't hip to Cornell, his importance, a huge importance in the world of soul and R&B guitar.
Well, Cornell Dupree, didn't they call him Mr. 5000 or something? Like he played on like 5,000 records or something like that. Cornell Dupree was from Texas, a Texas guitar player. And you kind of marrying what I call like fatback rhythm and blues guitar. It's like a different thing. Like people say sometimes that he was like a funk guitar player or he was like all these different things. But to me, he's like part blues, part rhythm and blues, part soul guitar, beautiful chords, almost in that kind of almost Curtis Mayfield thing.
Yeah.
And you just kind of combine all of those things. Because, you know, when you play with people like King Curtis and, you know, different people like Aretha Franklin he played with and Brooke Benton on Rainy Night in Georgia, you know, that's sort of encompassing a lot of different things. But the main thing is just the music feeling good. And Cornell Dupree was just one of the greatest guitar players. I mean, he just made everything better. Musicians like Billy Preston, Cornell Dupree, Eric Gale, you know, Bernard Purdy, James Gatlin, they just make the music feel good. And that's all I've ever tried to do, you know, just try and follow in those guys' footsteps.
Yeah, that's a great philosophy, great inspiration too. Thanks, Kurt. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
Yeah, stay safe and healthy. And the new record, again, My Blues Pathway, drops on September 25th. And correct me if I'm wrong, KirkFletcher.com for
KirkFletcherBand.com. KirkFletcherBand.com
is the website, and so it's a cool website. And I know the new video for Ain't No Cure for the Downhearted is now up on YouTube. I think just like as of yesterday or today. Yeah. So check out the video and look forward to hearing you live again, Kirk. All right.
Same here, Dave. Hopefully we can play something together.
Yeah, I would love to, man. Thank you. And I still have your sweatshirt.
All right. I got to get that sweatshirt. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you again, man. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.